Okay, Rosina, welcome to our fierce conversation for this week. And today is February 1st. I cannot believe the first month of the year is already gone. So everybody who's going to be watching this fierce conversation with my dear friend, Rosine Kushnick, I'm going to take a moment to introduce her formally, and then we're going to go ahead and get into our fierce conversation today. So Rosina grew up in a small farm in Switzerland. And today she lives on a small farm in Catskill Mountains of upscale New York. I've seen photos. It's absolutely gorgeous. And the beautiful thing about that is that it brings her very close to nature. And she has a very, very strong relationship with nature and, all things that come from Mother Nature. All of her life, Rosina has been drawn to understanding the miracles of life and the mysteries of life. So you can tell why I love her so much already. And that has led her to practices of meditation, of studying healing methods, and mostly diving into the mystery of life and of nature and of our soul. Now, she has been helping people on their healing journey for 30 years now. And she really enjoys guiding her clients to shape their future, led by the beauty and the uniqueness of their soul and Mother Nature. And she shares with her clients how their soul is designed to manifest as this specifically allows them to cut the time it takes in half. Okay, so I love that because as busy women, we're always looking to regain our time. So understanding yourself so well and how your soul is designed so that you're not wasting time. I love that. And she's the best-selling author of Find Your Beloved, Creating Delicious Companionship, and The Feminine Dating Revolution, the Zero Heartache Way of Attracting the Love of Your Life. And Rosina knows that I'm already on that track of finding, that new love. So Rosina, again, welcome. Is there anything that I didn't share in your bio that you'd love to, let all of our guests know about you today?
Well, thank you for this beautiful introduction. I just want to share how much I love you and I adore you, and how we have known each other for, I think it's like almost 8 years.
Oh my goodness. Okay, since 2017.
Oh, is it 17? Okay, so then that will be
Yeah.
6,
Yeah.
right? Going
Yeah.
on
Long time.
a
Long time.
long time, and it's been really, really wonderful to grow alongside with you and kind of have each other's back, support each other, and just having this kind of companionship.
Thank you. I echo that 1,000%. And I want to let all the women know out there who are listening that one of the toughest things to do is to accept support and love and vulnerability into your life and not have to always go at it alone. And I think as women, it's hard for us to trust who we let into our inner circle. But I see the times changing, as far as letting go of that old image that women are catty, that they don't support each other. And that's what we did. We were a part of a bigger mastermind group, but then we also created our tiny little group of 3 women that showed up for each other every single week to hold each other accountable and support each other in building our dreams and really seeing our souls clearly. So thank you for that. And it is so possible to build that trusting environment of women who want to see each other, build the life of their dreams without resistance. So thank you for that, Rosina.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. So today, as you know, we talk about a lot of things, and I've got some questions for you, but this will be an open dialogue and we'll flow through it. But the first question I always ask my guests is, can you share with us a fierce moment in your life where you stood up for yourself. You stood in your power. Maybe you were in a situation that was really scary, where you had to make a scary decision, and you chose to put yourself first and perhaps change the script and the story of your life that you were in at that time. So it could be something recent, or it could be something from childhood, or from not so long ago. What would you like to share with us today? What was that fierce moment that kind of changed things for you?
Well, yeah, I do have, I like to think that I make these fierce decisions every day. But there's one in particular that I would like to share. And, looking forward to having this conversation with you today, I did reflect on what does that really mean to me, a fear. What is fierceness in
Yes.
moments? And in a way, fierce can be associated with harsh or like sharp. But what I realize is that it's really a radical gentleness.
I love that. Yes. Just to stop there for a second, I really want to acknowledge that, because when I recently launched my new brand, I put kind of those two words together, fiercely flowing. And again, because yes, we can define it as harsh, but to me, choosing to live a life of flow is there's fierceness to it. We have to really, again, reclaim ourselves, reclaim who we are, reclaim our dream. And there's so much energy and power behind that, right? So to be able to do that, to allow ourselves to live in that quiet, beautiful, gentle space. Wow, there's so much there that we can look into. Yes. Yes, I love that definition.
And that saying that courage isn't the absence of fear, but it is knowing that there's something more important than fear.
Yeah.
And when I reflected on that word fierceness and what are the moments in my life of fierceness, I realized that these moments are always about me choosing something that is more important than what was already going to happen anyway.
Okay. I gotcha. Yes.
And that can look like this sharp knife going like, okay, we're going this way, not that way. But I realize, at least in my case, it's choosing something very, very soft and gentle that side of me, and choosing that over and over and over and over again, because we do live in a world that is not necessarily known to be all that, accommodating to
Yes.
our inner beauty.
That's right. That's right. And I do think that's a conversation that we get to have today as women. And I never really looked at that so much as when I went through my own deep practice of priestess, becoming a high priestess. And a big part of that was really looking at my feminine side and my masculine side, and being able to understand them truly. What was the voice of each of those that was coming from outside of me and the world of expectations of who you should be, if you're going to be successful, however we define that, or happy, however we define that. And what were the true definitions of feminine and masculine energy for me, coming from my soul, and choosing to believe that whether I stood in my masculine energy more one day, or in a specific moment, versus my feminine, that I was not doing anything wrong. It was a conscious choice, because they are a part of me, and I could now see those energies really, really clearly. Um, so yes, so I love that gentleness. And can we be powerful in the world using our gentleness, and and the love, right, coming from love instead of coming from, for lack of a better word, since we've already used it, harshness, right? So, all right, so talk to me about this fierce moment, because it sounds like you did choose something more important, and part of that was sitting within this gentleness of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long ago now was that? 15 years ago, 14 years ago. From one moment to the next, I wasn't able to use my voice anymore. It wasn't gone completely, but it totally had changed. And I could only speak with a lot of effort.
Right.
And it was like a feeling of being strangled as I
Wow.
was speaking. I didn't know even what was going on. I had no idea that that was a thing that was happening to other people as well, mostly women, by the way.
Wow. I just got chills. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. At that time, I remember looking up, it was mostly like the majority of the onset of this would be in white women in their 40s.
It really coincides with astrology, and also with our hormonal cycles as women, going through and in astrology we really look at the Saturn cycles, right? And that's right around that time, give or take a couple years, that we go through one of these Saturn cycles. And I can say, as someone who went through early menopause, that it just adds even more intensity to the changes that we're going through. And and I can't remember who to attribute this to, but when I was studying about menopause, the author said menopause is really about pause, pausing the men, the importance. And listen, I'm a big fan of men, so this is not against men. I have a son who I adore. I love all of the men in my life dearly. But what it really speaks to is, this is a time for us. This is a time as women to really redefine who we are, allow these transformations to take place, and, dare I say, reclaim our voice. Wow. So what was behind this?
Well, what is interesting about reclaiming the voice? So let me get to the fierce moment.
Yes.
Because I think that is really, I hope is inspiring to others, because as you can hear, I have a voice.
Yes. And I want to say that when I first met you, your voice was very low, very strained. It was very hard to understand you. And so just from a healing perspective, I want to say congratulations, because the work that you must have been doing from an emotional, transformative perspective to heal yourself, like, it's evident. It's evident. Yeah.
I concur. Yeah, like there were many years I just could only whisper. Like you met me at a time where I was, okay to talk to people, but there were years before that where it just was pointless. Anyway, it took me many months to figure out that there was such a thing. I went to see neurologists who didn't know at all what was going on. And thanks to YouTube, believe it or not, I realized what that was. And I went to see someone that was specializing in this. And I went to see him. I was kind of like excited, right? Finally, I know what it is. And there's someone specialized in it, only to find out that this doctor literally said to my face, you're lucky if your voice plateaus at this range, but most likely it will just decrease.
Wow.
And mind you, that was at a time where I was only whispering.
Wow.
And I remember this moment very clearly. I was in this doctor's office and I'm like, okay, I hate to say it, but I was like, are you crazy?
Right.
The doctor, I didn't say it, but like, this is not what is going to happen in my life.
Wow.
And I walked out of there and I was in shock. And I was like, and it was very evident that the only thing that is going to prevent me from going down that road is my own choice.
Yes.
I was very clear. It wasn't like, oh, what should I do now? Or, oh my God, this is so bad. Or no, it was like, am I going this way? That he is very confident is going to happen. And by the way, I haven't actually met anyone yet who didn't go down that route.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And or do I choose something else for which I have zero evidence, zero track record, zero idea of how to get there? Zero.
Yeah.
Absolute zero on all accounts. And the choice was clear. I mean, it just wasn't an option
Yeah.
to go along with what he said. And that was the beginning of a good 10 years of constant, persistent, painstaking, frustrating, demoralizing path to regain my voice.
To healing yourself. And this is so powerful, Rosina, because we, and I say we, everybody in the world, because we're human, we come with choice, right? And we can always choose who we want to be, what we want to accept. And many of us believe that it's not possible to change a belief. Maybe I've thought something all my life, I've experienced something all my life, so who am I to not trust a so-called expert and just in a moment like that choose that I have the power, that I have the control, and that I can make a change and believe something new and different. And we do have those choice moments. We have those choice moments. We can take them or we can. And it doesn't mean that the work is going to be easy, right? It always, anytime we choose something, a new belief, a new conviction, you can guarantee that it's not going to be an easy journey. That journey is going to continue to rub up against you to make sure that you're in it to win it, that you really believe in your own capacity to heal. Right. And I firmly believe we're all healers. Right. And so I want to know, because I really believe, and I saw it in myself, how I healed in like overnight. Years and years ago, it was back in 1995 when I had horrific allergies all over my body. They would just, show up as hives, and you could just touch me anywhere on my body, even on my face, and I would break out into hives. But the moment, excuse me, the moment, look, I'm losing my voice. Interesting. Interesting and not interesting at the same time. No coincidence. That was a time in my life where I was giving my power away, where I didn't feel that I was powerful. And I was in a lot of stress and overwhelm, and it was unconscious. I didn't realize it. And the moment that I took control and quit a job because of the toxicity in that job, the very next day, all of my allergies disappeared.
Wow.
And that was a huge aha moment for me. And so I started studying the mind-body connection and health. And of course, I know, and you know, that our emotions, of course, show up in our body through health, through illness and things like that. So my question to you is, along this journey and you reclaiming this and saying, no, I'm taking my control back, I'm not going to listen to any of these doctors, I will heal, and this will not be the case. Did you tie it to emotions that you were feeling or experiences that you were having in your life?
I would say I didn't leave any stone unturned.
Yeah.
And I'm talking across the board, like physical healing, detoxifying, energy healing, just about anything. And the beauty of it is that there was this determination in me to fix this. And I was reminded of it every single moment of my life because I couldn't properly speak. So it was a constant engine and a constant looking and a constant being open to what may be the next layer, what might be the next teacher, what might be the next approach. And so as I was going through these approaches, I was also studying them and learning those tools and methods that I'm now using with my clients. And I would say, just to circle back on your question, as we all know, healing is like this synergistic event where you don't really know, what would have happened had you not done that first, or like it's a mosaic that is completely unique to every person and every thing that needs to be healed. But the way it worked in my case is that I started with the physiological approach first, which did help a lot, but didn't resolve it. And what then made the biggest change was deep, deep, deep emotional trauma release, where I got in touch with emotional trauma I literally had no idea was even ever stuck.
Wow.
Body. I had no idea things were coming up that I had no conscious awareness. And if you want to look at it through this lens, I would have never had the benefit of releasing that had I not lost my voice.
Right. Yes, of course.
Because there's no reason you would want to go dig that deep unless you really have to, because it's no fun in there.
Right.
Right?
No, it's not.
And one part that went along with that, with the emotional healing and all really all the other layers of healing as well, is we have generational patterns, we have past life patterns.
Yep.
And one thing that I always knew about, but never made that conscious connection with, I'm going to share with you a little detail of my ancestors.
Yes.
Horrific. And I'm going to share it with you because I do believe that not only do we have the power to heal ourselves, but we're actually kind of entrusted with being the one in our generational avalanche.
Yes.
Where the buck needs to be stopped. Where we can turn around, look up the mountain, and face the avalanche coming down the mountain. You can tell I'm from Switzerland.
My mind went to Montana because that's where I see
Okay,
the mountains. Yes.
So that's how I perceive generational patterns. They just come, and every generation they kind of grow, they become more impactful, and then they come, let's say, to my parents, and then they add on their stuff, and then it comes to me and my siblings. And if I don't clean it up,
Right.
if I had children, it would go to my children.
Exactly.
But A, I don't have children, and B, I said, no, we're not doing that. So one of the patterns of my female ancestry is it's horrific. So it was a very rural community that has lived in this particular way probably many 100 years, where women were completely suppressed, emotions were completely suppressed. And when a baby girl was born, they would take her, put her in a basket, put her under the kitchen table, and let her scream while everyone else was sitting around the kitchen table, having their 3 meals a day. And that baby would be living under the table, completely ignored and neglected.
Wow. And I'm just curious, and what was the reasoning for that from their perspective?
I mean, it was
a rite of initiation, or
yeah, and the initiation was, you better keep your mouth shut for the rest of your life.
We're going to ignore you. Yeah. So learn. Oh my goodness. You know, I don't know why this reminds me. I don't know what the connection is. You probably would tell me, but it took me immediately back to the days where my son was 4 months old. And, I'm a short person. So he was already half my size at 4 months. He was a big, juicy, delicious boy, but he loved mama's arms and he loved falling asleep in my arms. And I just couldn't take it anymore. It was exhausting because the minute I would have to literally like lie on the couch, try to, put him on the couch without him noticing, but of course it never worked. So he would keep crying and he would literally sleep on my arms for hours. And I said, I can't do this anymore. Now, this method works. The Ferber method is what they called it. And it was the method where you put the child in the crib the first night, let him cry as long as he needed to cry, which was horrible for both of us, for both of his parents. And then you go back in after 5 minutes and calm them down, leave, go back 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and until they no longer cry. And then the next night you do it again. And by the fourth night, the time shrinks and they become perfect sleepers. He did become a perfect sleeper after that. But I'm just wondering from a psychological perspective, and just listening to what you just shared with me, I'm thinking to myself as a mother, gosh, did we do something wrong by doing that method? What would your thoughts be on that?
Well, I think the initial version of that method was just downright brutal, as in letting babies scream for a long time.
Yeah.
Basically, until they fell asleep. And I think that's pretty, harmful for children. I know I was raised that way as well. I mean, raised that. But there are different ways of sleep training now, where you do teach the baby to sleep, but it's in a very gentle way where that
Right.
traumatic thing. And what you're describing, you did, seems to be like somewhere in between
Yeah.
where you checking in and still there.
Oh boy. But yeah, I took us off track there a little bit, but boy, that memory just popped in for me because it was so traumatic for us as parents. So traumatic and
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a parent also, like hearing a screaming child is just like heart-wrenching. However, with these children in my female lineage there, apparently they were all just so toughened up towards any emotion that they probably didn't even mind. I don't
Right.
know. I wasn't there. But that was one of the things that I had heard about before I lost my voice, but a healer actually made me aware of that. What one element of what was going on was generational patterns, which then led me into researching that more. And I guess all of that to say is that any kind of challenge that we have
Mm-hmm.
is usually bigger than our own identity, our own life. In other
Yeah,
words, I do believe that by having worked through that generational pattern, they say you also heal 7 generations up and
definitely.
you heal 7 generations
Nations forward.
down.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't have your own children, the children of my brothers, my cousins, anyone, any descendants
Yes.
and any ancestors that were connected to that pattern
Yeah.
are changed by anyone, in this case me, but it can be anyone who sets out to say, the buck stops here.
Yes. Yes.
So that's what I want to share, that it's that the impact we can have, the ripple effect can
Mm-hmm.
be tremendous, and we might never even know about it.
Right. Yeah, I truly believe that. And in those moments where I feel like I've made a fierce decision for myself, the kind of decision no one in my family would make or they would judge or criticize, I almost I like to see the photo, the image in my mind of my ancestors who I do know and the ancestors who I don't know, just kind of dancing and celebrating, you know? And as a mother, I do see how the buck has stopped for my kids in a certain way and how they have evolved past some of this lineage work. And then I also see how some of it is still there, that still needs some work, some transforming. And it starts by having the conversations with your children. I think in the years past, the way our elders did it is they didn't talk about these issues, and now it's up to us to be more conscious, more open, and
Mhm.
and lay it all out for our kids so that they understand, why we might be the way we are, what we're working on, why we're working on it, why it's important, and why they can also become the healers of their own lives and issues. And that takes me to, another question that I'd love to, get your perspective on. Again, as an astrologer, astrology is one of those tools that I use to help people evolve toward the highest evolution of their soul in this lifetime. And I know that you do that work as well in your own methods. But in your opinion, and we are going through a lot of those changes now that are taking us to the quote unquote, Aquarian age, of where we are all really peeling back the layers and willing to be more fierce in our lives and do this work. But how do you think we got to this place where we are now, where we can finally shape our lives based on our soul gifts? What do you think
That's
about that?
beautiful, beautiful question. Well, I happen to be someone who loves to look at everything through a very detailed lens, but also very big picture lens. And so I always go to these overarching historical events that have shaped us as a humanity, because there's no way any one of us can live in a vacuum of that.
Right.
We all are affected by how humanity has operated the last 10,000 years and more.
Right.
And so why are we now where we are? I don't actually know the why. I mean, supposedly there are constellations, there are cycles, there are cycles. I mean, there are
Mm-hmm.
cycles in nature. The sun rises every day, thankfully. The moon rises in certain ways throughout the month, like all these cycles. And I am not an astrologer at all, but I am aware that there are cycles,
Mm-hmm.
astral bodies, that are generating this awakening now.
Yes, totally.
And so that would be maybe the why. Where I live is more in the how than the
Mm-hmm.
what.
Okay.
I'm very invested in, like, okay, who did we used to be? How did this shape us? How can we get out of this ASAP? And who can we become? Like, how?
Yeah.
That's where I get totally lit up.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what are some of the methods that you use generally or specifically to help your clients really tap into their magic? This idea of this is your unique soul. This is what you're meant to do, how you're meant to evolve in this lifetime. How do you get them to kind of uncover that and live with that so that they can kind of use their magic every single day, so that when these big cycles show up, because they do, they can actually flow with them, right? And not get stuck in the madness of these big cycles, which ultimately are here to as an invitation for us to step it up to the next level of our life, ultimately. So yeah.
Well, I think the way I work is dependent on where someone is at.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, like in a broad stroke kind of way, you need to have done a certain amount of cleanup work,
Okay.
emotional trauma. If you're in the grip of emotional trauma that is kind of like tossing you around every single day and you're just feeling miserable or anxiety ridden or angry or whatever it is a lot of the time, then that is not yet the right environment for you. Like your own internal environment needs attention to heal that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once there's more room and space and harmony inside, we can then turn towards, okay, so now that we kind of, it's never like a 100% flat
No. It's
kind
almost
of.
like, what, just the image that just came to me, like when you open up a can of bubbly water or soda, you
Uh-huh,
can do it fast and everything comes out. But if you do it slowly, just a little bit escapes, right? So it's
uh-huh.
almost like, we're never not gonna, we're never
Yeah.
gonna be 100% healed. That's what this life is for. But every time we work on that healing, we go to the shadow, we uncover more of the why and the how, more of that air is released, and we create more space to then be able to kind of rise up. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. Or like when you clean your house
Yeah.
or clean out a closet, like you need a reasonable amount of room
Yes. Yeah.
and to get new inspiration and to actually, I do believe that, you know, our dreams, our goals, they only stand a chance if they come from the inside.
Yeah.
In other words, if we base our goals and our dreams on what other people are doing and what we see out there, and then we superimpose that on ourselves, it's really not that much fun to create that.
It
It's
isn't. It's miserable. I've done that so many times. You know, I'm my best client because it's just amazing how we can, and this is why comparing ourselves to others is just a miserable thing to do. You know, today I use it as information, you know, and I ask myself questions. Wow, that person is doing X, Y, or Z, or, you know, they look fabulous today. Where did they go shopping? You know, I use it as information, but no longer allow myself to say, wow, look at what they're doing. I'm not doing it. What's wrong with me? And let me just take what they're doing and do it, because that's going to then make me happy or successful or rich or whatever. You know, I totally get that and resonate with that very strongly. Yeah.
And when you do the inner work of, you know, kind of clearing out the closets and all of that, then naturally you get a feeling, you get the vision, you get the inspiration from your own heart
Yes.
as what you really want in life. And the beautiful thing is, God does not put dreams inside of your heart that are not possible.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
he really doesn't do that, or she really doesn't do
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah, I believe it. I totally believe it. It's like that concept that every idea that anyone on this earth has thought or manifested, it all comes from a huge pool, right? Created by God, he or she, they, it, whatever. And we all have access to it, right? And so, but there are unique seeds of ideas of manifestations that we are born with, that are in our soul contract, that if we can uncover them, give them life, give them energy, then we can really, you know, make our dreams come true, right?
Very,
Mm,
and even more so, I believe that when we follow that dream, then when we pursue that, then we are guided straight to the, if you want to call them lessons or experiences or encounters, people that we actually need to become who we really are.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah.
Map. It's literally a map. Your dream is your map. You don't know, like when I lost my voice, I had no idea where I'm going to go next, who I'm going to talk to, how I'm going to do this. I had zero idea. I just knew I'm going to go there. And that's all you need, a dream,
Yes.
a resolve to go there. And then it will show you, it will take you there if you're willing to deal with every stop on the way.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like life shows up for you when you show up for yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you don't have to worry about the entire map, all the roads, you know, the directions on how to get there. It's with every little, um, you know, being able to sit with all of that information that you uncover recognize it, own it, accept it, take the next step, life shows up and shows you where to go next, right? And that's really flow, right? For me, that's a great definition of flow. We don't have to figure it all out. And when we try to figure it all out, it's so hard.
And you're immediately out of flow and you actually lose GPS.
You do. You lose the momentum, you lose the inspiration, no gas in the tank.
Finished.
1,000%. So we're already at almost an hour. So I am going to invite you to talk about something to kind of wrap this up for us. I want you to help me debunk the woo-woo, okay? And you shared this quote with me that this piece of information that, of course, I'm saying to myself, of course it's true. According to a 2009 survey, almost 50% of Americans say that they have had a mystical experience. Well, of course, we are mystical, we are spirit, right? And so, you say that you're here to help make the mystical more accessible, right? And so talk to me a little bit about debunking this idea of woo-woo and why it's important to debunk the woo-woo.
Well, I love that question because it kind of speaks right to the heart of why I do my work, which is we truly are, every one of us is a magical being. We all have a heart, and in that heart is the light of God. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a heart.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be alive. And by using, we have to go back to the historical context. We all have lived probably many lifetimes in a very patriarchal environment that was not invested in us being aware of how magical we are and how powerful we are. And so the best way to keep everyone really tiny and small and scared and doubtful is to make them believe there's no magic in them. Right. There's no heart, there's no light, there's no God in them. And then anything that, you might want to call woo-woo is something out there. Yeah. It's weird and it's a little scary, and maybe it's very scary, and maybe it's even of the dark, and like it gives it there's a connotation, an implication. Yeah. It is outside of us, weird, and probably a little bit bad. Yeah. And when really the opposite is true. And so I personally don't like using that word because it's reinforcing that idea that we are not. Yeah, I totally get it. I think that there's when I first created this group in Facebook for women, it has a new name now to kind of expand the purpose of it and who we support. But I chose very purposefully Essentially Woo, and talked about how the woo-woo is wonderful. It's a part of our essence. We are essentially woo, right? And so to give all of these women a space, women like you and I, who believe in our magic, who know that we are magical beings and that we are never not connected to our magic, and we get to choose that belief or not, right? And then there are many people who don't believe that, and unfortunately have labeled the woo-woo as bad. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more that, and I think eventually more and more of us are not going to use that word any longer and kind of stomp on it and go, no, because, we are magic. We are God. We're a spark of God. And there's nature all around. And, you know, what is more magical and mystical than nature?
There is
And,
no better example
and
than nature.
the sun that is rising every single day on a very particular schedule.
Yes.
You don't even need to be living in nature. You can be in the middle of a city, and you're part of that cosmos.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is amazing.
It is
And we're
amazing.
part of that.
Mm-hmm. We
So,
are. It's simply breathtaking, and it's what connects all of us. You know, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, the sun's going to come up and the sun's going to go down. You know, we're all going to, whether we know it or not, we're synced up. And if we allow ourselves to be in sync with the cycles, we can feel more of that flow. But yeah, I can't live without nature. More and more, that's where I find my peace. That's where I find my healing. And yeah, so the more we're connected to it and we understand our own natural rhythms and cycles and patterns of our soul, the more that we could feel in control of our lives. So it's a really beautiful way of looking at how to do the work of healing.
you
Oh,
know what?
Rosina, yes, tell me.
I realized I never actually answered the question about what I use. I was saying depending on where someone is at, we may
Yes.
need to do some, you know, work about the past. But what I'm really loving is the work about how we can create our dreams in the now.
Mm-hmm.
Use the information of our soul blueprint,
Okay.
infusing that notion with our connection with nature, and then creating an energy field within ourselves that is aligned, or rather align our actions
Mm-hmm.
with creating that coherence in a very purposeful way.
Yes.
It has been absolutely magnificent
Oh my
as
goodness.
what is happening in my life and also my client's life.
Mm-hmm.
You know how there's this cliche, enjoy the journey, and
Yeah.
you know, it's not getting there, it's about enjoying the journey. But often the journey is not that much fun.
Right.
It's like stressful, you don't know where you're going, you don't know if you're ever going to get there. And what I've figured out, the way I'm working now with clients, is we're literally making journey a magical trip.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm so glad that you said that, because sometimes I feel guilty, but I really don't, because I'm in a place in my life, you know, as a woman, as a mother, as an entrepreneur, all of the roles that I play, I design my life. And you know, I'm the same way. I design my life with my rhythms, with my natural, you know, rhythms, and use my own methods to do that. And I really believe that we can flow. I really believe that we can be in this space where we are enjoying every single moment of the journey and sitting there. You know, and this morning I couldn't stop saying thank you. I'm so grateful for the fact that I could do X, Y, and Z, and that I choose to do X, Y, and Z. You know, I'm not giving that control over to anyone. I'm designing the life that I want to live. And so it's so doable. And I love that you have your process and that you're taking people through that magic, Rosina. And I'm sure so many of the women and the individuals that listen to this want to know how they can connect with you. So what is the best way for someone to reach you?
Email.
Okay.
Email
What
me.
is that?
Go to my website. It's Rosine Kushnick. And yeah, on my website
Okay.
there is
So rosinekushman.com.
Kushnick.com.
Kushnick.
Yep.
rosinekushnick.com. I knew that. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll go
And
ahead
on
and
my website, you can book a time
okay.
to to chat or
Excellent.
email me either way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I do want to recommend that you get on Rosina's list, because she just creates these beautiful, beautiful emails that will just really make you feel at ease, and also challenge you to work on the things that you need to work on, and to continue to evolve, you know? So thank you. This has been such a joyous conversation. I love you dearly. Thank you for
Thank
making
you.
the space,
Likewise.
for sharing your fierce moment. And I know that so many women are gonna connect with that. So
Beautiful.
all right. Thank you, everybody, for listening in today. And we'll see you all in the next fierce conversation. Bye-bye.